Takuan Soho was a Zen monk who trained swordsmen. He wrote something that explains modern overthinking perfectly. The mind that becomes fixed and stops in one place does not function freely. Overthinking happens when your mind locks onto one thought and refuses to budge. In the late 1500s, there was a young samurai named Miyamoto Musashi who would become Japan's greatest swordsman. But before his legendary duels, he nearly lost his life to his own mind. The night before his first major duel at age 13, Musashi couldn't sleep. He kept running through techniques, imagining every possible counter, every angle of attack his opponent might use. His mind built elaborate scenarios. What if the ground was wet? What if his grip failed? What if he moved left when he should have moved right? By dawn, his body was exhausted before the fight even began. His hands trembled not from fear of the blade, but from the war he'd fought alone in his head. He won that duel, but barely. Years later, he would write in the Book of 5 Rings that his early struggles came from the mind attaching to technique and forgetting the moment. That same pattern shows up everywhere today, in students who reread notes instead of doing practice questions, in artists who endlessly refine portfolios instead of sharing their work, and in people who sit outside the gym and talk themselves into going home. Overthinking calls itself preparation, but most of the time it is the mind stopping on fear. Japanese martial arts have 2 training ideas that explain decisive action under pressure. The first is Mushin, often translated as no mind. In practice, this is a mind that does not cling to fear, ego, or constant commentary. Thoughts can appear, but they do not grab the steering wheel. The second is Zanshin, often translated as remaining mind. This is calm alertness that persists during and after an action, where awareness stays on the situation until it is actually finished. Together, they form a simple rule. Decide in calm, then move without debate. In this video, you are going to learn that rule so you can apply it to work, study, and real-life decisions. By the end, you will have a short decision ritual, a fast start ritual, and a finish ritual that stops your attention from leaking on the busiest days. Overthinking usually begins after the moment a decision should have been made. The mind keeps reopening the same door because closing it feels risky. In classical sword teaching, the choice is made before contact, and in the moment, execution matters more than commentary. For you, that calm moment can be 3 minutes sitting in a chair, as long as it happens the same way each time. This 3-minute practice becomes what we'll call your calm room, a consistent space for decision-making. 2 Japanese practices fit this calm moment well. Hansei means self-reflection. It is the habit of looking back honestly, naming what fell short, and choosing one improvement instead of defending your pride. Kansha means gratitude and appreciation. This is the habit of noticing your support system and the value that already exists in your life, so that the mind stops treating every choice as a threat. Used together, Hansei clears the decisions and Kansha lowers the emotional noise. Here is a practical ritual based on what Musashi eventually learned. First, write the decision in 1 sentence. Second, write what matters most right now, in plain language. Third, write the mistake that shows up when you panic. Fourth, add kansha. Write 1 honest line naming what is already helping you. A deadline that gives shape to a project. A teammate who can review your work. A past draft you can reuse, or 1 tool you trust. Fifth, choose a direction and write the next action as one sentence. That sentence is the finish of the ritual. You do not keep negotiating with yourself after that point. This works because Hansei names the actual problem and Kansha settles the body. It also works because the decision is made before pressure hits, 5 minutes before an important meeting, the night before the exam, or the morning before that difficult conversation. That's the calm room. Once the decision ritual ends, action starts. If the mind keeps reopening the decision, the ritual had no meaning. Takuan explains the danger in martial terms. If your mind fixates on the incoming sword, your movement comes undone. In a fight, that means getting cut down. Swap the sword for a deadline, an interview question, or one difficult message you need to send. The mechanism doesn't change. Attention sticks to the fear, and your next move goes missing. Mushin is trained through a protected start. Choose a physical cue that is too simple to argue with. Take one slow exhale. Let your shoulders drop, and settle your eyes on a single point on the screen. That breath is your switch. Then follow one rule. When the ritual ends, start for 2 minutes. 2 minutes is only the entry gate. It is the first push. At first, you'll slip, checking messages, searching for one more article, or asking one more person. So tighten the start until there is less room to negotiate. Use the same seat, the same first click, the same timer. For writing, the first job is one ugly sentence. For studying, it is one easy question. For a hard conversation, it is writing the opening line and saying it out loud once. This is where training does its quiet work. The mind can complain, but the hands keep moving. After a few minutes, motion creates clarity. Learn to let thoughts pass without debating them. A doubt will show up. You're about to write something stupid. Don't argue with it. Keep typing the next sentence. 2 minutes later, the doubt is still there, but it's quieter, and the work is already moving. A clean way to lock this in is by devising an if-then plan. If you finish the 3-minute decision ritual, then you start and you go on for 2 minutes. No exceptions. It is simple enough to repeat, and repetition is what changes the habit. In Mushin, thought still shows up, but action remains the primary goal in the first moments. Overthinking doesn't just show up before you start. It follows you into the work itself. People start a task, drift, half-finish, then carry the stress of their unfinished work through the rest of the day. Zanshin closes that leak. In martial arts, Zanshin is continued awareness through and after a technique. The body stays ready, the eyes stay awake, and the mind doesn't drift away from the situation until it is over. In daily life, this situation is the task in front of you, but also the distractions circling it. It can be a small thing. You finish a draft, but your attention jumps to a new tab before you hit export. You write an important message, but your eyes are drawn to notifications before you press send. Zanshin is the pause that keeps you present long enough to complete the action you chose. Add a finish rule that matches Zanshin. Choose one visible finish line before you start. That finish line can be sending the email, submitting the assignment, or shipping the draft. Keep it to one thing so that the mind stays on one track. When you reach your goal, do a 30-second closing ritual with one breath, one line about what was completed, and one line about the next step for tomorrow. Then close the tab and go about your day. That close does 2 jobs. It gives the brain a clean ending, and it stores the next step outside of your head so that you don't end up chewing on it all night. Once a week, do a short Hansei review as a steering check, picking one adjustment. Ask, where did my attention drift? What triggered it? What's one small change that would make next week easier? This is how the two-step rule becomes real. Your decisions happen in a calm environment. Execution begins without debate, and Zanshin keeps the attention on the task until you reach a clean finish. Mushin and Zanshin are old training ideas that solve a modern problem. They protect three critical moments: when you decide, when you start, and when you finish. If overthinking keeps stealing your time, start here. Use Hansei to clear the decision. Use Kansha to lower the noise. Complete the ritual, then start and apply yourself for 2 minutes. Hold your attention on one finish line, then close it cleanly. Musashi still felt nerves before his duels. Thoughts still came. They just stopped running his blade. Decide in calm. Move without debate. Finish on purpose. That's the Budo way. As always, thank you for watching.